It's now time to move on to the machines, to augmented reality, to big data, to imaging and machine learning and so forth. And our next company is Pixoneye. Ofri is going to speak from there. And one of the wonderful things about Pixoneye is that it's an Israeli company that is set up here in London, in the UK, and sees here as the major growth market. And it's great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. OK. Hi, my name is Ofri from Pixoneye. As mentioned, thanks to Hugo. Thanks for sticking out all the way to this time. I know lunch is in your eyes, so we'll keep it short and light. So Pixoneye, before we dive into what we do, a little bit about my background. About 5 years ago, under my previous hat, I was senior marketing advisor to the Minister of Tourism in Israel, in charge of all mobile, digital, out-of-home marketing and advertising for the ministry. Keep in mind, a ministry doesn't sell products. We're a government office. We promote content. One of my last tasks in the ministry was to set a very segmented mobile campaign to Israel's two biggest tourist markets. And since this is UK-Israel innovation, a little bit of fun fact about Israel. The two biggest tourist markets to Israel are the evangelical communities, specifically from the Bible Belt area of southern United States, who come to walk where Jesus walked, and the gay and lesbian community, who come to party in Tel Aviv, which was named third most open city after Berlin and San Francisco in 2014. Both great markets, but two markets that you never ever want to confuse your messaging to, right? The last thing I wanted was an evangelical priest to get an in-app invite to Tel Aviv's Gay Pride Parade, because that's the last time he'll bring a delegation over. So I started to look at what's available, and being a senior marketing advisor, I had the second largest budget for marketing in Israel, about $200 million year over year, and I got a lot of companies to pitch to me. We're looking at Facebook, Taboola, Outbrain, all the good stuff that's coming out of Israel, and everybody was speaking a very repetitive spiel taken directly from the desktop, right? So there's always geolocation, time of day device, browsing patterns, purchasing patterns, and the worst of all, social media listening. I don't know if you read 3 weeks ago, The Next Web said there are more 18-year-old males on Facebook than there are 18-year-old males in the world, which just shows you how skewed that kind of data is. I mean, if you look at my Facebook, you'd think I'm into reflexology, I think it's called, because my wife's sister just opened her own place, and if I don't like and share 10 of her contents an hour, I get yelled at. So I was looking at what else is available out there, and one of the things I came across was the Prince's Dilemma. Show of hands if you've heard of the Prince's Dilemma. No? Great. So it'll be exciting for everybody. And the Prince's Dilemma looks at two people. Let's call them person one and person two for now. They're both opening up the same app, doesn't have to be at the same time, and we start gathering all the information we can about them that exists in the market today. Right, so let's take a look at them, what we can achieve for that. So what do we know about them as soon as they open up the same app? So first of all, from third-party data aggregation like Oracle, BlueKai, we can assert that they're both male, they're both married twice, they both have grown children and young grandchildren. Great, so far they're pretty much similar. We can communicate with them in a similar way. Geolocation tracking, another sensor that exists, and we heard about it a lot today. We can tell that they're both English. They both enjoy the countryside, take holidays in the Alps, and are extensive travelers. So far, so good. I can still communicate to them the same. If you look at their social media listening, we can tell they're both born in 1948, big dog lovers, and are sports car fanatics. So far, so good. And if we look at purchasing behavior, we can tell they're both part of the wealthier sector in the world. Any Brits in the audience right now? All right, you guys should have guessed who these two people are. Exactly identical, same people, real data. Obviously, we can target them the same. These are clearly almost the same person, where in fact, these are absolutely different, right? This is Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness. Their data actually coincides exactly down to every little data level that we can achieve. So how do we tell them apart when they're on our app? One thing you could do is you could take a look at their personal photo gallery that they have on their app. First of all, you'll be scarred for life, but you'll be able to find some very interesting things about them. For example, how Prince Charles spends his evening versus how the Prince of Darkness does. How Prince Charles spends time with the family versus how Ozzy spends time with the family. Great knowledge about them. Great, so we can find a lot of things from their personal photos. But actually, personal photo galleries also apply to the numbers game, right? So if we look at a personal gallery, first of all, if we zoom out of it, it actually looks like a data set. Because what is a data set? It's a lot of data points along a timeline, which is exactly what our gallery is. But also the numbers add up. So people take on average 250 photos a month. Women on iPhone 6, that's 320 photos a month. That's just data speaking. Don't kill the messenger. People have on average about 1,500 photos on their camera roll at any given moment and 24 videos, which is just a lot of photos put together in frames. It is the only offline behavioral self-tracking that we do to ourselves. And less than 2% of that ends up on social media. So we care about the other 98%, which is the real you, not what you want people to think you are. So great thing about these photo galleries, but what you're probably asking yourself is, well, how do you analyze all these people's personal photo galleries and not end up in jail, or at least have the cyber guys from before jump on stage and arrest me? And that's where Pixoneye comes in. So when we think about understanding photos, we look at computer vision as a whole. We come to think of let's take the big four players in this game, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, and Pinterest. And what they've been perfecting, and billions of other companies are trying to chase in that landscape, is a sense of computer vision we would call image detection, right? Understanding what's in the image. It's taking a photo, and I've only used my photos, even though I've hacked into all yours by now. But so this is myself and my dog, ironically for a Jewish dog named Bacon. And what computer vision or image detection does is it looks for objects, sceneries, items in the photo, and lets you know what it is. So dog, person, and male. All right, great for meta tagging. But it doesn't tell us about the user. So if you take a look at my gallery today, I have a lot of pictures of younger children because my sister just gave birth and two of my cousins just gave birth. But that doesn't mean that I am the father of a child or that I have children at home. And the idea of the architecture is, how do you turn a photo gallery and reverse the architecture of image detection into a user understanding architecture? So what we did at Pixoneye is we started looking at photos like people look at NLP, right? Natural language processing. You look at a piece of text and you try to infer the cognitive state of the person writing the text. So we looked at complete photo galleries and tried to extract from it actual understandings about the user, taking into consideration where the photo was taken, when it was taken, what gallery it came from, how many of that specific photo exist in the gallery. And so we're able to say, instead of, ooh, there's a dog in the photo, this gallery actually belongs to a dog owner. But that's not enough. That's still looking at people's photos, which is creepy and terrifying and probably won't get us anywhere. And so we developed our next stage of IP when looking at processing, which is on device. In fact, phones, starting with the iPhone 4, and Galaxy S4, have strong enough CPU powers to run processes internally that were previously only available on big laptops or big computers. And so we started teaching the computing powers of the phones how to analyze their own photos, meaning that we actually don't have to look at or see the photos. And what we're able to do is take phones, teach them how to scan their own photos, and then teach them how to extract from those huge galleries what we call feature vectors, or just long lists of numbers, beautifully represented here in a graph, but it's actually a longer list of numbers. It's just easier to swallow this way. And then this graph, which represents absolutely no photo but a ton of data, can be extracted from the device, and our clients can then interact with their users on a personal level. So the way it works is we have developed an SDK, or a software developers kit, that can be integrated into any host app. So your EasyJet app, your bank app, your supermarket app. Once it's on the app, it teaches the user's device, or your device, how to analyze its own photos, meaning that at no time do we have to see the photos, touch the photos, move them to a temporary folder. Everything is happening on device, which is the next stage of big data. So there's no cloud, no data transfers, nothing. Everything is happening on the device. The device then condenses all that knowledge into what we call the feature vector, which is, again, just a representation of numbers, which we can then take offline, analyze them, and extract from it up to 150 characteristics about the user. Anything from gender, age, marital status, all the way down to hobbies, where do you go on holidays, and what you do once you get there. All that data lives in our photo gallery and is extracted in a complete abstract manner. So what is that used for? Just things we can start doing by having on-device access to data where there's no need to export it or import it anywhere. First thing is analytics. We can find out things about our users, but there's a big so what factor there that most brands and clients usually interact with. So, okay, great. I know that 80% of my users are male who go on holiday to Amsterdam once a year. How does that help me? So the next iteration of that is, because everything is happening on the device, we can start clustering users together based on their characteristics and start picking specific inventory pieces that fit specific characteristics. So if I'm e-commerce or your bank app, I can start playing around with what kind of information. So when I open the app and when you open the app, there'll be two different apps, and it doesn't have to be the same. And everything, again, is happening on the device itself. Nothing is taken off. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I'll take the last 50 seconds to take you to the future of on-device processing. Because we are on the device, running only on the device. Every new photo you take gets automatically added to your feature vector, right? So what we started realizing is that there's specific life events that correlate to specific patterns in your photo galleries that are that represent the process going into that life event. For example, for visualization purposes, if your photo gallery starts going from this to this, right, there is a slow shift in the photo gallery that you might not notice, but that a computer can pick up on the difference within the feature vector, and we can program or ignite a conversation between the brand that we work with and you here, instead of after you've already given birth and you already have your mindset on your favorite brands for diapers or for the color you're going to choose for your kids' room. That's it for me. Thank you very much for listening. You've been a great audience. Enjoy lunch.
Ofri, thank you. That really is a fascinating insight.